So for more on the ongoing negotiations between the U.S. and Iran, let's bring in Israeli ambassador to the United Nations, Danon. Ambassador, great to have you on the program.
Thank you for having me, Aisha.
So the president says these talks went really well and they're going to continue talking. But Iran came out very forcefully right out of the gate here, out of this meeting, and said that they will not stop enriching their nuclear fuel. How do you think this talk went?
We can all agree that diplomacy is the best avenue to reach peace. We all want to see a peaceful solution to the situation. But looking at the Iranians, I'm very skeptical, because they keep continuing to threat Israel, threat the United States, instead of actually understanding that they have to come with proposals, with ideas, and with compromises. They should understand that they will not be able to continue with their nuclear plans and with spreading chaos in the region. We hope that the negotiations will be successful. But, from our experience, and we analyze what happened in the last decade, they say one thing and they do exactly the opposite.
Mm-hmm. And the president and the White House has said the strikes are still on the table, that, Iran has to watch its back and has to try to come to the table. It takes two to tango, the president said. But at the end of the day, we know how quickly they rebuilt their ballistic missiles, right? After you helped to take them out. We know how quickly they rebuilt that program. How motivated is Israel to strike Iran again on its own and bomb those missile sites, to take those out?
We are a peaceful nation. We have no dispute with Iran. We have no border with them. The only reason that we are worried is because they proclaim that they want to destroy us. They want to destroy the U.S. And they actually build the capabilities to do so. So we take those threats very seriously, and we are prepared for them. Today we are in high readiness in terms of defense and offense. And if they will attack us, we will retaliate. It will be much more painful than the attacks they saw last summer from Israel. We always know how to upgrade our capabilities, and they will be surprised to feel again the might of the IDF. So I think they should understand that they should not mess with the US, they should not mess with Israel, they should come to the negotiations and make real compromises and understand that there is no reason for them to have nuclear capabilities.
Well, let me ask you this. We know that you're pushing for regime change. We know that you were talking to the Security Council at the UN about this, imploring them to imagine what a world would look like without the ayatollah, without the head of the snake in charge in Iran. But how realistic is a regime change by dropping bombs? Let's say the U.S. does strike Iran. How realistic is that? Can that be affected by air power?
First, I agree with you. Everyone wants to see in the West a regime change. We saw the horrible sights coming from Iran, the way they treated the demonstrations. We don't know the numbers yet, but
Right.
I spoke with people there. Tens of thousands of people were massacred, and they are not releasing the bodies for proper burial until today. So we hope for a regime change, and we saw the numbers of people and the number of cities that you saw people actually taking the streets, saying enough is enough. You're right. It's very hard to guarantee a regime change with a military attack. But I think for us, what is important, that they will not have those capabilities. And maybe the people of Iran will understand that now it's their time. But the international community should support the people of Iran. The Security Council did not designate the IRGC yet. The EU did it last week, which is important, but we expect more from the international community. And I think the people of Iran should know that we stand with them, we pray for them, and we believe that the day when they will be able to live in a better world is coming soon.
One more question before I let you go, Ambassador, on the Board of Peace. We now have confirmation that the first meeting is going to happen later this month on February 19th. We know there were some opposition, some objections to the members of the executive board of this Board of Peace, but now Israel is on board. What are your expectations? What do you hope to see happen in this first meeting as the President's Board of Peace gets underway here?
Well, as you said, Aisha, we welcome the initiative of President Trump, and we are grateful for his leadership and involvement in the region. We got all the hostages back. It is a miracle, and we are grateful for that. I think the next stage is disarmament of Hamas that will allow us to start move with reconstruction of Gaza. We cannot move forward with reconstruction as long as Hamas is holding into power there. So we believe that that will be the first thing to discuss and to come with ideas how we push Hamas out of the equation.
Okay. Ambassador Danon, great to have you on the show on this Saturday. Great to see you.
Thank you very much.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.